Now, Steve Price, very sad news today. Iconic Australian comedian Barry Humphries was rushed back into hospital. This is following complications from hip surgery. Steve, how is he doing? And I'm sure we're all sending, or all the viewers are sending our well wishes to him as well.
Yeah, look, the understanding is that he had hip surgery, and since then things have gone downhill. He was readmitted to hospital. Look, we've all got our fingers crossed for Barry Humphries. I mean, we've lost far too many icons. Just think of Shane Warne, Judith Durham, Olivia Newton-John. You got John Farnham in hospital again. He's not in a great way. We just hope that Barry Humphries, probably our best export, not probably, our best comedic export without any doubt. I mean, he is a genius, Barry Humphries, and he's now 89. He's been doing this since the 60s and 70s. I mean, I'll tell you one little story. He was at Melbourne Uni,
yes,
and when he was a university student, he'd get on a tram with a bowl of cereal. And at the first tram stop, he'd arrange one of his uni mates to get on and hand him a plate of bacon and eggs. The next stop, he'd get a glass of orange juice. It was
hilarious.
Just situation comedy, and Barry's gone round the world. He's a genuine legend.
He is incredible, and we wish him well and hope he recovers from this today. Now, Steve, let's move on to the looming budget now. Treasurer Jim Chalmers will reject a $24 billion recommendation. This is from the Economic Inclusion Advisory Committee. They want to see JobKeeper increased by 40% to just under $1,000 a week. Chalmers is now being accused of trying to bury this story. The media are saying he released it last night too late, just before 6 o'clock. What do you think about this?
Well, Jim Chalmers did try to bury it, let's be clear. The budget can't afford to increase the unemployment benefits by the rate that committee suggests that we do. I mean, it might not seem like a large amount of money when you break it down to how much you're on the dole you get per day or per week, but the budget's bleeding money. And again, I note today that you had senior government ministers blaming the former government. Time to stop doing that, folks. You've got to craft a budget of your own. It seems to me, given when you look at, Sharri, the unemployment numbers in this country and the lack of workers in many industries, that anyone who still has to be on unemployment benefits right now, probably, with a few exceptions, doesn't want to work. I mean, there is jobs everywhere around this country that people can take up if they want to. And so to raise the dole at this time when unemployment is so low, I think it's a bit rich.
Yeah. Now, Steve, what about this? Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe, her outburst on the weekend outside a Melbourne strip club has been on there's been a big story on virtually every media outlet this week. It's even been labelled as unacceptable by the Prime Minister today, but it hasn't been covered by the ABC. What do you think about this? How can they ignore a story like this?
I wonder why we're surprised. I was a little surprised about Anthony Albanese today too, the Prime Minister, giving Lydia Thorpe advice that she should go and get some help. Why didn't he do that when she laid down in front of a float at the Mardi Gras? Why didn't he do that when she went berserk outside a protest outside Parliament House? I mean, this is the thing that disturbs me about Lydia Thorpe more than anything is the vision we keep seeing of her walking in to the Senate with her fist raised in a Black Power salute. I mean, clearly Lydia Thorpe is now independent. No one can sack her. She wants attention. And so for Anthony Albanese, I mean, he was saying that just because he could. But clearly she does not deserve to be a senator in the Australian Parliament. Her behaviour is erratic, and I just worry that she's going to do something else. But Anthony Albanese shouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
and Albanese's comments about Lydia Thorpe I've got coming up on the show. Steve, the West Australian Premier Mark McGowan has been caught on camera in China criticising Shadow Defence Minister Andrew Hastie over his hawkish views on China. This is just extraordinary. Have a look. So as you saw there, Mark McGowan saying Andrew Hastie swallowed some sort of Cold War pills. Andrew Hastie has today responded. He said he was on Sky News earlier, but here's a comment about what he said. He said, Mark McGowan is out of his intellectual depth. The truth is that he's a prison guard looking for the work now that the pandemic has finished. He said he's not surprised he's running down Australian MPs in China, but it's surprising from a former legal officer in the Royal Australian Navy. Steve, I just think this is extraordinary. I mean, you criticise politicians, fair enough, when you're in Australia, but for Mark McGowan to go to China, refuse to raise the cases of the Australians who are imprisoned there, including the mother, Cheng Lei, whose partner is desperate for the premiers to raise the case, and instead he's sitting there criticising Andrew Hastie. I mean, this is not appropriate conduct.
And Sharri, that vision was put out by his own media unit that are travelling with him. I mean, seriously, this bloke should not be in China criticising the shadow defence spokesman. Andrew Hastie, as we all know, served in the SAS, put his life on the line for his country. I mean, Mark McGowan, I think during COVID, and you'd remember this, Sharri, during COVID, he just got an inflated ego. The people of WA love him. They seriously do, and I've just spent 10 days there. But he shouldn't be saying that about fellow Australian politicians when he's in China.
He's got to apologise to Hastie, you think. Steve Price, thank you very much for your time today.